Hey, we back, and I'm here talking about Discord today, where we have a new update. Usernames are changing. The update's not out yet, we just have an announcement about it, which is very recent. You can see usernames used to be like this, and well, currently still are, and in short, will be looking like this. It's going to be like Twitter. Obviously, there are people that are happy about this, there are people that are not, and we are going to look through the announcement here, the discussion about it, and I'm going to give my opinion on it. I'm kind of against it. I think there are going to be a lot of people against it, but that's mostly just because people are kind of resistant to change. So let's start having a look through this announcement. We start off with just a bit of an introduction here, and then they recognize that the current username format is what makes Discord unique, among other things, obviously. And I think this already is an excellent point. Obviously, it is a reason why to not change it. And it's worth mentioning this in greater detail, I think, because as things currently stand, people can look at the usernames on Discord and go, oh yes, I really love that. I'm going to use Discord as my social media of choice. Whereas looking at usernames like this, they're probably going to pick Twitter or something instead. It's just a lot bigger. And now, of course, realistically, no one is picking their social media based off of the username format, but it is worth mentioning that at the moment there will be some people that prefer this format and would prefer to use Discord therefore because of it, whereas if you prefer this format there are already other alternatives available. So changing it away from something unique is already not a great idea, and they do recognize that. They say here that's kind of the point, which they don't really, I feel, go into much detail on what they mean by that. I kind of take it as a, yes, we're trying to be similar to other platforms because it's more recognizable, people are more used to it, which is valid. People that use multiple social medias will be more used to having names work like this with the display name and the actual name, and so having it be more familiar to people is useful. I do concede on that point, but also it does make Discord less unique, and I think in general Discord is becoming much less unique as time goes on, and people are not very happy about it. So then we've got a description of how we got here. Basically, the Discord team was trying to avoid having a username being taken being an issue on Discord, which I really value. I think that's great. The fact that you can just call yourself whatever the hell you want, it's great. I love it. No one had to type out usernames manually, and this then became technical debt. I do understand, being a programmer, that these things are hard to deal with later on, especially as they say it is 8 years later on. It's going to be hard to deal with issues like that if it's causing problems for your code and you want to change it, because it's going to be right in the center of everything. So when adding the friend system, what they did is they added the 4 digits on the end, or what they actually said, we exposed the 4-digit suffix called a discriminator. So this was already in the code, and they just let people see it so they could use it as a unique identifier so that people of the same name could be differentiated. This is the reason for having the tag on the end of your username, and it's, you know, fair enough. Then they explain the problem, and they have even in bold here, the biggest problem are current usernames can often be too complicated or obscure for people to remember and share easily. I do understand this issue, obviously. Remembering a 4-digit code is not something that everyone is going to do. Personally, I can and always have been able to remember mine. It is 3011. But that is because I use Discord a hell of a lot, as I'm sure you're aware, and if you don't use Discord that much, you don't need to know your ID really, or your tag rather. It's not super necessary, you're not going to memorize it. So yeah, absolutely. But there is something to consider which they have not mentioned here, and that's that actually this isn't really going to change that. You are still going to need to have a unique name on Discord. Before, your unique name was the combination of your name and your tag. And so as they touch on this bullet point here, which we'll get to in a minute, you can have the username taken message if you happen to pick a name where there are already 10,000 of that person, of that name rather, in the system, because all the tags are taken. So that was an issue. The point is the tag is there to help make your name more unique. Removing the tag doesn't stop names having to be unique. They still have to be unique. So what you're going to find is people just make their actual names more complicated to compensate, because otherwise they're going to be hit with the your username is already taken message, which of course now is going to become even bigger of an issue, because instead of allowing 10,000 mics, you only allowed one mic. Now, of course, this is the difference between the display name and the actual name, but then people signing up for Discord trying to make their actual name are going to be stuck not being able to have the name that they want because there's already one of them. What are they going to do? Well, you know what people do when they run into this issue, aside from making their name more complicated, which is just against the entire point of doing this, but they're going to add numbers on the end of it. You actually, in this system, can only have, in terms of characters, we'll get to this in a second, you can only have A to Z, 0 to 9, a full stop, and an underscore. So you can't even have a hashtag. So people that want to keep their name the same with the tag can't even do it, which is kind of depressing. But they're still just going to add random numbers on the end of their name because their name that they wanted is taken, and oof. This is, I think, the most important point here, because the thing is, it doesn't solve the issue. The issue being that the names are too complicated or obscure, and the names are still going to be complicated and obscure because they still have to be unique. Here is a list of problems that people apparently run into, which I totally believe. You try to share your username outside of Discord, and unfortunately you can't remember the discriminator or have to explain which letters are uppercase or lowercase, have to specify which special characters you use. Again, this is still going to be an issue. They're only going to be allowing lowercase, and they're not going to allow much special characters, but your name still has to be unique. It still has to be just as complicated as before, realistically, and so you're still going to have to explain how your name works. If you're explaining that face-to-face vocally, then yes, this is going to help slightly. But realistically, the easiest way to do it is just to send them your name, in which case it makes no difference at all. And yeah, sure, you could have some untypable name full of wacky Unicode, like we get to down here, but at the end of the day, if you want your friends to be sending you friend requests, you just don't set that as your name, or have it as your server nickname, or something like that. No one is going to set this as their name and then expect their friends to type it in manually to the friend finder. They'll either send that over a text, or they'll just have it as a server nickname instead. Anyway, yes, I'm skipping ahead. Second point, you meet someone IRL that you want to talk to on Discord, and they say, I'm Phoebe8936. This is the whole vocal thing. You go home and add that name only to find out you used the wrong Phoebe because their name is actually this. This is, again, still going to be an issue. Because, like, okay, Phoebe is taken, so I'll add ones for the eyes. Having capitals not be allowed doesn't fix that issue. People will just use numbers instead. People will just add numbers on the end and in the middle, put a spot in it and an underscore. You still have this exact same issue with the new system. It's just going to be not with caps. It doesn't really help at all. Third bullet point we kind of already went over. There were already 10,000 mics. Yeah, well, now there's going to be one. You're still going to be blocked from the name. I mean, yeah, okay, you can have it as your display name instead, but you could have it as your server nickname instead. It's the same thing. People will just set it as their server nickname if it's taken. Anyway. You like to change your username a lot and get rate limited. Again, this still doesn't really fix that issue because you can change your server nickname as much as you like. People do that all the time. Yeah, okay, maybe you want to change your actual username, but you can't change your actual username a lot in this system. You can only change the display name. Display name and server nickname are basically the same thing in this scenario. The only difference is DMs. And then we have the Unicode issue here. Yeah, again, with the not setting your name to be this if you're going to vocally tell someone what your name is and expect them to add you. Obviously, it's not going to work. People do set things like this to their name all the time. I see it much more commonly with server nicknames because people know that if you set your name to this, no one's going to be able to find you. Your name's going to be unpingable and stuff. It's worth noting you can ping someone based off their tag currently. Before the update, you can ping them off their tag. So even people that have actual names like this, they are still pingable. Of course, tags aren't going to exist in the future, but hey, whatever. We've got a couple of statistics here. More than 40% of you either don't remember your discriminator. Yeah, I mean, probably a lot more than that. I think most users on Discord don't remember their discriminator. I'm in the minority for knowing it. Or don't know what a discriminator is. That is an issue, people not knowing what it is. But equally, if we just If we just flip over to Discord for a second, if I have a look at my friends, we go on add friend. Do you notice something here? Enter a username and it has the tag there. This is good. That means when someone is typing in a username, they know they need that there. Of course, some people are idiots and they're not going to realize it regardless, but I don't think that's going to help. You're going to find that people try and type display name in here instead anyway. It makes no difference. The problem still exists. This is the main issue that I have with this. I think most of the problems that they're trying to fix still exist. This isn't a great experience and we want to fix it. Yeah, absolutely. We want Discord to be fun, blah, blah, blah. It's too complicated. I don't think this makes it any less complicated. This is the issue. So, how have they approached the problem? They've considered many potential solutions that are halfway fixes. For example, we decided at one point that the most important issue to solve was case sensitivity. To be honest, I do agree with this. I think the point about case sensitivity is a good point, because you can have multiple people with, say, capital letters at the start and not capital letters at the start, and the same tag. And yeah, explaining to someone which letters are capitals, that is going to be an issue vocally, as with the Unicode and stuff. And people regularly put capital letters in their name because pinging people isn't case sensitive. People don't really think about it and they're quite happy to put capitals in their name and not really expect it to ever be an issue. So yeah, I do completely agree with the case sensitivity thing. Potentially removing case from the usernames just straight up would have been nice. Special characters, I'm not so sure. Again, it's linked to the pingable thing. People will struggle typing special characters regardless, so are normally a little more careful about adding them to their username. I don't know, whatever. There could be one Phoebe instead of allowing permutations like Phoebe and Phoebe. Yeah, absolutely, but then you're still going to have numbers in the name, so whatever. Unfortunately, we found that nearly 1/3 of our active users would be forced to change their name just to accommodate this. So instead, you decided that all of your active users would be forced to change their name. Good job, Discord. That's profit. Just saying. Meanwhile, people from regions where non-alphanumeric characters are common in names such as Asia will have difficulty fully representing themselves. Still an issue. You are removing Unicode characters from names. Good job. Like, literally, though, they're just only A to Z will be allowed. Meanwhile, complaining about alphanumeric characters not being allowed in names. Like, you've literally done that. Like, I get what they're saying. Oh, but you've got a display name instead. Okay, well, you've got a server nickname instead. It's the same thing. We already had this. Then we considered making a change, but also enabling a separate global display name that could include special characters, a bit like how server nicknames work currently. That's what you did. But we realized that then we would have an even more complex system with both a display name and a username that still included the 4-digit discriminator. Well, yeah, but it's still more complicated. That's the point. You've still gone with the solution. You've just also removed the 4-digit discriminator. I'm not saying you should add a display name and remove and keep the 4-digit discriminator. That's way too overcomplicated. But like, the solution that you've picked isn't any less complicated than having the 4-digit discriminator. It's just a different form of complicated. We came to the conclusion that if we're going to ask a lot of our users to make a change, then we might as well go all out. We needed a more comprehensive and robust long-term solution. I mean, given the fact that other applications such as Twitter already use this, that gives evidence that it is in fact a comprehensive and robust long-term solution. Like, otherwise other apps wouldn't use it. So that's valid. One that gives people power to have a display name, otherwise known as server nickname. They can change any time with very relaxed limits. Think of them like a global nickname. Yeah, exactly. It's a global nickname, basically. And yeah, sure, it's slightly easier than going into every server and changing your nickname. Also, it works for DMs, but at the end of the day, is it less complicated? No, it's not. It's just the same thing. How we're improving usernames on Discord. So what will we have? A unique alphanumeric username without a discriminator such as Phoebe. Think of this as mirror of a technical necessity. You mean like tags? This username will be used for connecting with other users, friending, and telling users apart when you check their profiles. It's the same as tags. It'll be limited to lowercase characters, numbers, and period and underscore. So the whole issue with the Asian people not being able to put their actual name is still an issue? Yeah, okay, got it, good to know. It'll be much easier to remember, verbalize, and share with your friends. I don't know about much easier, but yeah, sure, slightly easier. The issue is, like I said before, they are, where does it say? Unique. They still have to be unique. And so you still have to have, I don't know how many users there are on Discord, few million for sure. You're still going to need a few million unique names, aren't you? A few 100 million, maybe. So yeah, you still need that many names. They're still going to be just as complicated. People will just have to make their usernames 20 characters long and have letters and special characters, But hey, whatever, sure. A non-unique display name, kind of like server nicknames that can include just about anything as long as it adheres to our community guidelines, including special characters, emojis, all the rest of it. This will be how you primarily appear and will be your most prominent form of identity. Think of it as your main name. They would love you to think of it as your main name. Whether you do or not is up to you. You'll be able to change your display name whenever you want, even minute to minute. See, this is nice. By default, your display name will be your old username without the discriminators. So your friends continue to recognize you. So if you use Phoebe, your new name will be Phoebe. There you go, like this. Display name, new username. It's like a server nickname, basically. I've said it enough times. In addition, your previous username and discriminator will continue to work as an alias. This is excellent. I love this. It's kind of important because chat logs and stuff, right? You still need to be able to search that. I honestly wish it still displayed it as like a legacy thing. You could put it on a profile and not display it for most of the time or something like that, just to be like, hey, if you want to search chat logs for this person, this is their old tag. But you still can use it as an alias. So if you put it in a note or something like that, if it's particularly important to you, then you can continue to use your alias. And this is for adding friends and stuff. So old friends who don't know your new username yet will be able to add you. This is, I think, really important. Bit of continuity there. Because otherwise, like I say, old chat logs, old links, old messages on other apps, like let's suppose on, I don't know, Facebook Messenger, I say to my friend, add me, this is my username and tag, and I said that a year ago, and they want to add me now, they can still do that with the username and tag, otherwise it would ruin it. So that's excellent. I love this right here. Like, if you're updating a system, you need to have backwards compatibility. That's the point. And they have backwards compatibility. So thank you for that, Discord. As for developers out there, while numerical IDs will remain the same, learn more about some other changes that may impact your apps here. I'm not going to go into this because I think the majority of people don't care about the bots. But worth mentioning that you will need to change bot code in order to manage with the new system, which is sad. I mean, this is obviously going to be true because this is a pretty major change to the way that Discord profiles work, but yeah, you are going to have to change stuff. Change bad. Ugh. So there you go. If you already use a server nickname in part of a particular community, that server nickname will still take priority over your display name. Again, this is good. I don't know why this wouldn't be true, but good. Thank you for that, Discord. How we're rolling out new usernames. This is actually kind of important. In the coming weeks, we'll begin notifying users when they're able to update their account to a new username, so be on the lookout for an in-app prompt when it's your turn. You will need to do that quickly because it'll be first come, first serve. During the transition, all Discord users will be asked to choose a new username, and access will roll out slowly over the course of several months. Didn't notice that the first time I read it. There you go. So it's going to take a while to get everyone done. We want to be particularly considerate of long-time Discord users who've had their usernames for quite a while, so we'll be assigning priority to choose your new username based on where you registered for Discord. This is a really nice sentiment, but they have made a critical error in the way that they're doing it. Priority to choose your username based on when you registered for Discord. What they said is not that. Who have had their usernames for quite a while based on when you registered. That's not the same thing. That's the issue. So if you have a 2015 account, but you update your username every week, you get priority, which is not how it should work. Mostly I'm just salty about how I've had my username ever since I joined Discord. I've never once changed it or my tag, and I don't get priority. I mean, it's not bad. I joined in 2017. I'm hoping to get a bit of priority, but will I get to keep my Steve? No, I don't think I will. If you don't know, on Discord, my username is Steve. It is very simple, and I'm very sure someone else is going to take it before I get there, unfortunately. So my username just is going to have to change, despite having the 2017 account, I expect. I mean, we'll see. Maybe I get lucky. Maybe they should give priority for creators, and yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, there you go. So despite never having changed my name, I don't get the uber priority, whereas people with 2015 accounts that change it every week do. Admittedly, I doubt it's a statistic. They don't store, I assume, on their database when you last changed your username. I would be surprised if they stored that. But the point is, their idea here is, as they say, to give priority to Discords who have had their usernames for quite a while. And that's not actually what they're doing. They're basing this on the assumption that nobody ever changes their username. And as they said earlier on, people change their username a lot sometimes. Anyway, whatever. We recognise that this is a big change, maybe hiccups in the process, and it may be tough to part ways with this 0001 that's meant a lot to you over the years. This is an excellent point as well, because changing your tag is a Nitro feature, and this is actually a Nitro feature I really like. Why is that? It's because it does basically nothing, and that is what Nitro features should be. These Nitro features that are coming in now, admittedly, also do basically nothing, but they're advertised like they are the most important thing ever. The Nitro features of old, ye olde Nitro features, were not like that. They were like, you get to change your tag. Changing your tag doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't help you at all. In fact, honestly, I think it hinders you, which is why I've never changed my tag despite having Nitro, because of the whole thing I said before, the searchability. Having it always be consistent is kind of important for that. However, it's a good Nitro feature because despite the fact that it makes no difference, if you really want to change it, you can buy Nitro and then you can update it. That's a good Nitro feature. The sort of thing that makes no difference, but people will pay to do anyway and support Discord. Yeah, the point is this no longer exists. They're removing one of the good Nitro features, which is sad. But also it doesn't make any difference, so I shan't complain. Jason, I truly believe this is the right thing to do to help people hang out with their friends on Discord, which is what this is all about. Yeah, fair enough. In conclusion, I'm not a huge fan. Funnily enough, I liked it how it was, and that's not just because I resist change like humans do, get the pitchforks out. It's also just because I think the old system was more unique and just as good. And I like that. I like Discord being a unique social media. This is why I use it. Not specifically because of the usernames, but just because it's unique. It is now less unique, and I am sad. The main issue I find is not that this new system is actually worse, because I don't think it is worse. I really don't think it's worse. It's not worse at all. There is nothing particularly better about the tags than there is about this system up here. This is fine. But the thing is, they're equal. And Discord has clearly put a lot into changing this. They're making their bot developers change their code. They're making their username searchability a little bit more inconsistent because of this change and other such things. And presumably, they've pumped a fair bit of money into it as well. And I don't think it helps at all. I don't see how any of the problems that they listed are solved by this. Like, they had a couple of points about the case sensitivity, for example, but I don't think the new names are going to be any less complicated. And if people really don't want complicated names, this isn't what they name themselves. If your aim is to connect with your friends who you tell your username to vocally, what you do is set a name like this already, in which case it makes no difference. They're basically adding global nicknames. Like, that's the bottom line. Global nicknames is cool. It just, we're gonna have to have this now. Is it bad? No. Is it good? Also no. Is it a waste of time? Probably yes. But like, hey, whatever. There's going to be people that are happy about it. There's going to be people that aren't happy about it. I've given my opinion. It was probably too detailed already and also a bit hodgepodge all over the place. So there's probably plenty of things that I forgot to say, plenty of things that I said multiple times. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was informative. I don't know what I'm going for here. Whose names are out? Well, they're not out. They will be out soon. Announcements out. There you go. Hopefully, I'm literally the first person to upload a video on this on YouTube. No chance. Absolutely no chance. And wish me luck for getting the Steve username, because if I don't get the Steve username, my YouTube channel will die. It will never be seen again. Anyway, I'll leave this video here. Bye!